So the Indian Premier League is the world's biggest cricketing extravaganza that has a viewership of almost 500 million people. Remember, it's in the league of some of the biggest leagues across sports in the world. Not only does it invite players from all over the world, the Indian Premier League is a combination of cricket, entertainment and business, with thousands of crores riding on the tournament every season, along with 1 billion fans hooked to the watches. The creme de la creme of the cricketing world descends in India for the IPL. But this year, with the coronavirus proving to be a big hindrance for the IPL and other big sporting events, large gatherings, there are big questions of whether the IPL this year should go ahead. The Governing Council is in a fix. What should they do? Go ahead and risk lives of thousands, or cancel the tournament and risk losing crores? Or is there a path in the middle? But first up, the latest, that is this advisory, a clear message coming to the BCCI and the IPL from the Ministry of External Affairs.
We are also analyzing a lot of requests of this nature, that sports events that are being held in India and something linked to a mega event which has already been planned. So how do you deal with this? So I think it's for the organizers to decide as to whether they want to go ahead with it or not. And then I think we'll be open to the idea. If they really want to do it, our advice would be not to do it at this time. But if they still want to go ahead, it's their decision. We are also analyzing a lot of requests of this nature, that sports events that are being held in India and something linked to a mega event which has already been planned. So how do you deal with this? So I think it's for the organizers to decide as to whether they want to go ahead with it or not. And then I think we'll be open to the idea. If they really want to do it, our advice would be not to do it at this time. But if they still want to go ahead, it's their decision.
All right, so let's take a quick look at what are the possible scenarios available before the BCCI and the IPL. Now, one option is to cancel the IPL altogether. Given just the kind of money that rides on the IPL, remember at around 2015, the BCCI claimed that one season contributed around 11 billion rupees to the Indian economy. So cancelling the IPL continues to be the most unlikely of scenarios. It is unlikely the BCCI will do this. Truncating the IPL is also a redundant option, because even if you reduce some matches, does it take away the scare of the spread of the coronavirus? It doesn't. The problem is, even if one match is held with thousands of people in a stadium, that is a problem. Postponing the IPL, as we have known over past years' experience, is an extremely difficult proposition, because there's a very stiff window during which the IPL is held. There are international series and other countries playing their regular cricket soon after the IPL window gets over. So no crowds at stadiums. Play the matches but without crowds, cancelling the spectators in stadia. Is that an option that the BCCI will look at? Already it is being done as far as some other matches are concerned. And this continues to be the most likely possible middle path that the board could employ. My colleague Shumon Ray has been tracking developments. Let's go across to him. Shumon, what's the latest you're picking up, even as all eyes are on the IPL Governing Council?
Well, absolutely. The Republic TV has been the first channel to break the news at 11 a.m. today that there will be a Governing Council meeting of IPL on Saturday and in Mumbai, where they will discuss the three important issues: whether IPL will go on as scheduled with the teams and taking into consideration all the franchisees into confidence. That is very important, because franchisees might be hellbound about their players. If the foreign players are not coming, according to the advisory, the foreign players cannot come in till 15th of April. If that happens, then what about the franchises? Will they allow that to happen? Secondly, can that be held, the entire tournament be held closed door, which is a big possibility, because as far as BCCI finances and budget are concerned, 90% of it comes from advertising and from television rights. So even if the spectators are not coming to the stadium, financially it's not that much hit. But then if the spectators are not coming, it's a bad advertisement for IPL. But then having said that, it's very important. National interest comes first, and also the health of the players. That is being looked into. And as far as the BCCI top brass is concerned, I talked to two of the very senior BCCI members, and they have said in no uncertain terms that it is being monitored every hour to hour. Now, 1 week back, it was a stand taken by BCCI that we will look at it every day on a day-to-day basis. That is what had come from the BCCI president. The secretary of the BCCI is taking personal interest into the entire matter on a day-to-day basis. Now it's being monitored on an hour-to-hour basis. So whatever is the development coming from the sports ministry, development coming from, as we speak, the new development is that the Ranji Trophy final days play will be held on a closed door. So no spectators will be allowed to see the final days match in between Bengal and Saurashtra.
All right.
Also,
Shravan, continue to be with us. Let's go across to our first guest, Gaurav Sethi, cricket writer, commentator, better known as Board Cricket through his handle on Twitter for his humor and satire on cricket as well, is joining us live right now. Gaurav, so far, the onus has been put on the BCCI to decide whether they want to go ahead, how they want to go ahead. Do you trust the board to take the right call? Often it gets criticized for keeping money above everything else.
Well, going beyond whether they take the right call or the wrong call, I think it's a time for each one as a cricket fan to think beyond cricket. We often, as cricket fans, live in a bubble. Whether we follow sport, write about it, we tend to be making most of our calls in life governed by cricket. I mean, such is, I think, the blind passion that we have for the game, that even when something of these proportions is taking place as we speak right across the world, at our doorsteps in India, we do not have a sense of awareness of what exactly this is or how huge it is. We still will be talking about whether the IPL should happen or not. It's almost like a huge relief, you know, this little window. Whenever it comes across, there is cricket. It's possibly the time right through the summer holidays that you feel you are cut away from everything else with that 8 p.m. game that starts day after day. And this, in spite of having a live game which was called off in Dharamshala, we must know that India is playing an international series with South Africa. Even if the Ranji Trophy final is going to be played behind closed doors, we have an international series which is being played. So that is happening. When you look at that, I guess you have to start working out how exactly is IPL going to pan out when you have something like this already being played. So a lot of calls have to be taken by the BCCI.
No, but Gaurav,
and I think
as it stands right now,
where you...
As it stands right now,
yes,
it seems absolutely impossible that the BCCI can go ahead with the IPL in regular fashion. I mean, imagine most of the Indian stadia have huge capacities in tens of thousands. There is, there's no way that day after day IPL matches can go on by the end of this month with thousands congregating. Already, there are sporting events and those part of sporting, administration or teams who have tested positive.
Yeah, quite right, because just a few days back when the Women's World Cup final was played in Melbourne, the MCG had about 80,000 plus people in that stadium. And we're not talking about weeks or months before. This is just the Sunday which went past. Now it comes to news that yes, in a certain stand, there was, and what are the likelihood? I mean, of course, there was someone who has tested positive, and now they've zeroed into what particular stand that particular spectator was. And because this virus tends to be spreading so rapidly, and largely because of human interaction, we are looking at reducing human interaction if we can. best we can when the government talks about reducing large gatherings. So that straight away says that yes, if you were to even think of an IPL or any cricket match, you cannot have it with filled stadiums. I mean, that is the first thing that goes out the window. What is surprising is that the BCCI had a one-day international being played in Dharamshala today, where that same call was not made, that people were allowed to buy tickets. Isn't that a large gathering? I mean, that is baffling, to say the least.
No, absolutely. We have actually called out the BCCI on what it actually tried to pull off earlier today in Dharamshala. We're getting to know that the next two ODIs will not take place with the spectators in the stadium. But, if the rain hadn't happened today, if the match had gone on today, then there would have been spectators at the Dharamshala stadium, and that could have been a disastrous situation. So certainly the board needs to take some responsibility for that. I am also joined by noted Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Let me also go across to him. That how dangerous can it be, Dr. Bagai, having tens of thousands of people, anything upwards of 30,000 people in the same stadium, no matter how much precautions you may take? This is obviously going to be a tinderbox of the kind of spread that we're witnessing right now.
Hello, good evening, everyone. There are two aspects to this. The first aspect is, of course, a huge, large gathering which is cramped up into a stadium. The stadium, obviously, the spectators come in through long, winding, close-knit lines through the security gate. You're obviously exposing a huge amount of spectators to cross-infection. There is no question about it. The second part is the cricket itself. Please understand that this is a virus which is completely new. We know that it has human-to-human transfer. Having played cricket a little bit in my life and watched cricket and followed cricket very, very closely, there are secretions put onto the ball for shining. The ball is transferred from hand to hand. There is sweat. There are bound to be the hand and the fingers touching the eye with sweat, the mouth, the nose. Obviously, you are going to make a break in the continuity of keeping this precaution. Now, I want to add one very important point. There is no point in doing 99 things correct and that one thing wrong. Because if the chain of isolation or quarantine or precaution is broken, it's all or none. And every possible asymptomatic carrier is a potential source of cross-infecting 100 others in another week. So then it is going to increase in an exponential binary fission. I don't think any sport, be it cricket or any other sport, keeping the finances apart, the politics apart, and the emotion and the passion apart, I don't think any sport is more important than a national health issue which is hurting almost all countries across the globe, including India now.
No, very good points that you have made about, the shining of the ball, the fact that in any sporting event there is sweat involved, there's touching involved, there's human touch involved, even though cricket is not a contact sport. Let me go back across to Gaurav very quickly. So Gaurav, what are the options? Do you see the IPL being cancelled?
Well, you would look at the way everything has panned out in the last few weeks, that we are not faced with any other option but to cancel the IPL. If you were to think that you can have it played with closed doors, that is a call which you can just only hold on for a bit to see how the situation changes, if it does at all, in the next few weeks. That would be holding the situation and saying, okay, we're not taking a call now, which is something I think the BCCI is excellent at. Let us procrastinate. Let us not take a call till the last minute. We've seen this across the years. They'll be quite comfortable with that. But seeing that, if they look at the finances, everything is backed up. Insurance covers largely a large portion of this IPL. But I think this is going beyond insurance. We're seeing what is happening financially across the world, and more specifically to India. So I think the BCCI and the government will largely have to look beyond everything else and say, this is one of those American crazy movies that pretty much is about Independence Day and disaster movies. it comes to pass, and it is happening in our lifetime, whenever we do see it, and you buckle up and see what can be done. It could start with washing your hands, which I guess everyone is washing your hands 10 times a day. But like the good doctor said, you cannot do 99 things right and do that one thing wrong and break that chain. So which is why would you play behind closed doors and put the players or the administration or the backup that these games take to facilitate an IPL game? You're really breaking the chain and putting your players out there.
And it's not just that, so Gaurav, while most, wherever possible, events are being postponed, some events that are of a smaller magnitude have been cancelled in individual calendars of sports across the world. As far as large events are concerned, where there is not a scope of postponement, as comes the Olympics and the IPL, where there's a window alone where they can be held. So far, we've seen that not allowing spectators in is the route that they're going. For example, the ISL has announced that that's how the final will be played. My colleague Shumon Ray earlier talked about the Ranji game as well. Is that something that can be looked at all? But the other side is there are several players who have already said, what's the point of, playing a match without the crowds? I mean, does sport make sense without spectators in the field?
Is seeing where you can cash in on the financial aspect of sport. I mean, it is pretty much that. You are hedging. It has come to that. You're saying, okay, can we get the game to be played? Can we get it to be shown on television? Does it pretty much work out to the same? Can it go on like that? I think that is being considered.